sign language interpreter this morning is Tobias Omondi. Now, we started off with politics and make or break talks. Why Ruto and Raila comes are known for power sharing. And President William Ruto and Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition leader Raila Odinga have unveiled their teams for the talks to address the country's torment arising from months of protests over cost of living and 2022 elections, even as both camps maintained hardline stances ahead of the negotiations. Now, President Ruto on August 2nd, 2023 remained guarded on the talks, declining to field questions on the same during his State House address in Nairobi, where he delved into matters related to reducing the high cost of living as an issue the opposition maintains must be top in the discussion agenda. Now, the president's briefing came barely minutes after his Kenya Kwanza side unveiled its team of 5 negotiators that will be led by National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah. It includes Senate Majority Leader Aaron Cheruiyot, Embu Governor Cecil Mbarire, Bungoma Women Representative Catherine Wambilianga, and East Africa Legislative Assembly Member Hassan Omar. Mr. Odinga's coalition had earlier unveiled its team that will be led by Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka in the talks to be spearheaded by former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo. Other members of the team are National Assembly Minority Leader Opiyo Wandayi, DAP Kenya leader Eugene Wamalwa, Nyamira Senator Okongo Omugeni, and Malindi MP Amina Moyanzi. But even as the government and opposition prepare their troops, they remain jittery over the possibility of a nusu mkate or handshake government. Here is the unveiling of the Kenya Kwanza, a team that will be leading these talks.
I am very proud today that almost a year in, our economy has steadied. I am very proud today that the interventions that we have taken, though not popular, though very painful, but I want to say here, they have paid off. I say this in reflection because a trend was created that using other people's money, which is debt, is a very innovative way of delivering government programs, which is the biggest fallacy, because as a result of using other people's money and contracting debt left, right, center, front and back, we drove our country almost to the brink of debt distress.
And Kenya to import sugar as a cane shortage is blamed for high cost. The government has okayed the importation of sugar into the country to mitigate the shortage of the commodity that has pushed prices to an all-time high. President William Ruto says that the government has licensed sugar importers to source for commodity from across the world to alleviate the current situation.
We've had confusion and chaos actually in the whole sugar subsector, and we are streamlining that sector because the whole sugarcane sector has been riddled with all manner of confusion. It is true the prices have gone up. We have been reluctant to work against farmers by opening importation. The others, everybody refusing to work in accordance with the law. In fact, the reason why many companies have closed shop temporarily is because there is no cane to harvest. Now that we have ascertained that there isn't sufficient supply in the Comesa area, we've now opened globally, and I want to announce that I think in the next 1 or 2 weeks, at least by mid of this month, we will see a different situation pertaining, because that's the time we expect stocks of sugar to come into the country.
Corruption is one of the issues that ran down Mumias Sugar, where the funds that were being generated from the sugar production and sale was going to the pockets of individuals who are unscrupulous, who did not want anything to do with Mumias Sugar growing to companies that we know. The president is right. In importing the sugar to cushion the deficit, we'll see the price of sugar dropping down, even as the government struggles to put measures and mechanisms in place to manage the sugar milling farms, that we will see some change very soon, because we need to see these sugar producing companies up and running.
We now have a roadmap that will be discussed in cabinet next week. And I want to promise the country that we now have a comprehensive plan to sort out our sugar subsector.
And staying on that address in State House, fertilizer prices to go down by to Kenyan shillings 2,500 per 50 kilogram bag, announced President Ruto. Now, it is good news for farmers across the country as the government further lowers the prices of fertilizers under the government fertilizer subsidy program, announcing the changes in pricing. President William Ruto said effective Tuesday, a 50 kilogram bag will now be sold at 2,500 shillings, down from 3,500 shillings.
Whenever I go around the country, that many farmers are not yet using sufficient fertilizer. From the long rain season alone, which is underway. And we want to thank God that we got rain this year, better than the last several years. We estimate a yield of 44 million bags in this season, compared to last year's 32 million bags. We estimate that we will get an extra 12 million bags, thanks, by the grace of God, to the rains that we got. Low agricultural productivity was not only raising the cost of living, but also driving poverty among millions whose livelihoods are connected to agriculture. Now, as I've said, 70% of all employment is from the agricultural sector, with its linkages in manufacturing, value addition, and agro-processing. We are providing farmers with fertilizer whose formulation is customized to feed crops with their specific requirements of elements and address local soil nutrient composition. By addressing the cost, quality, and availability of inputs and associated direct production expenses, we were setting out to liberate our agricultural sector from chronic underperformance and transforming it into the primary driver of our bottom-up economic transformation agenda and the foundation of Kenya's prosperity, industrial capacity, and competitive advantage. On this leg, we shall begin to immediately bring down the price of fertilizer from 3,500 to 2,500 per 50 kilogram bag, beginning yesterday. And I'm told that yesterday alone, 34,000 bags of subsidized fertilizer were sold to our farmers. The total amount spent so far on the fertilizer subsidy program is a small fraction of the annual cost of consumption subsidies, and yet its impact is nothing short of tremendous. This year, Government of Kenya is going to meet half the bill for drying. Again, this is our strategy to make sure that we eliminate post-harvest losses. As we all know, we have seen farmers trying to dry their produce in all manner of ways. I am encouraging farmers going forward that let us use at least minimum 2 as we go to 3, because that is how we are going to increase our productivity, and that is how we are going to feed our nation, and that is how we are going to bring down the cost of living.
And 60 militants are killed after Lamu attack. Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki now claims that over 60 Al-Shabaab terrorists were killed during Tuesday's attempted terror attack targeting four fleets of buses at the Lamu-Tana River intersection.
The public was attacked by over 60 armed terrorists in different groups. The agencies were nearby and the response was very fast. So we ended up unfortunately losing one person on the spot. Another one died on the way to hospital because they were shot on the head. But the attackers were many and heavily armed, and we have been able to neutralize all of them. We must continually commend our security officers. We have lost many of them in some of these engagements. We have had one or two to three teachers killed, injured every year. And this, of course, has had devastating implications on our education standards and the stability of the teaching professionals in that area. We must arrest the situation, and we are determined. I give you and the country hope that we will get the situation right in the coming weeks and months.
And away from matters internal security, to who do we believe? MP Wandai once probe after Kindiki Owalo differ on WorldCoin. Now, members of parliament are now calling for a probe into the controversial cryptocurrency project WorldCoin following seemingly differing statements by Interior Cabinet Secretary Professor Kithure Kindiki and his ICT counterpart Eliud Owalo. Now, National Assembly Minority Leader Opiyo Wandayi on Tuesday called for the intervention of President William Ruto in order to shed light on the project that has drawn much scrutiny from certain quarters. Appearing before the House, the Ugunja MP scoffed at the sentiment by CS Owalo, who on Tuesday said WorldCoin was operating legally in Kenya, and he similarly questioned CS Kindiki's remarks a day later, who, contrary to his colleague, suspended the project and ordered investigations into the same, citing suspicions and safety concerns. Now, Wandayi therefore faulted the two public officials for holding contradictory opinions regarding a matter which he reiterated was of serious security concerns, maintaining that the government should always have the same stance in national matters and thus the president should intervene and give the way forward. Now, the MP added it is important that at every single moment the country is made aware of the position of the government, because whether we recognize it or not, government can only be one, and there is no single day government positions can be contradictory. According to the legislators, the two CSs have already plunged Kenyans into confusion and should be ruled out of giving further directions as far as the matter is concerned. The lawmaker suggested that the House should instead summon anyone involved in the matter and undertake an investigation to get to the root of the issue. And on that note, we come to the end of the stories that are making headlines in the country. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're coming back with stories that are making headlines in the dailies. Keep it science.